Hey guys, tonight we begin with something a little different. A journey not through grand battles or royal courts, but through the steady rhythm of ordinary life. We're stepping into a time when survival wasn't dramatic, it was daily. When history wasn't written by kings, but lived by countless souls whose names we'll never know. Tonight, we're asking, what would it really be like to live just one quiet day in the Stone Age? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the Stone Age. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, literally everything else. There's no alarm clock, no snooze button, and definitely no warm blanket to burrow under for 5 more minutes. What you do have is cold. The kind of cold that seeps through animal skins and settles into your bones like an uninvited guest who's decided to stay forever.
You're lying on packed earth, maybe softened slightly by dried grasses or moss if you were smart enough to gather it yesterday. Your pillow, your arm, or a smooth stone you've positioned just right after weeks of trial and error. Comfort is a concept that hasn't been invented yet. Right now, survival is the aesthetic. The fire from last night has died to ash and ember. Someone, probably you, will need to coax it back to life before the day truly begins, because without fire, you're not just cold, you're vulnerable. Fire is light, warmth, protection, and the difference between eating raw meat and something vaguely digestible. Outside your shelter, and we use that term loosely, the world is waking up. Birds call, insects hum. Somewhere in the distance, something larger moves through the brush. You freeze, listening. Is it prey, or is it something that thinks you're prey? Your body aches, not from a tough workout or sleeping wrong, but from yesterday, and the day before, and every day before that. Your joints protest as you sit up. Your back reminds you that ergonomic support is about 12,000 years away. Your feet are calloused, scarred, and tougher than leather because they are your shoes. You blink the sleep from your eyes, and in the dim pre-dawn light filtering through gaps in your shelter, you see your family. A partner, maybe. Children, if you're lucky enough that they've survived this long. An elder, if fortune has been especially kind. Everyone is stirring slowly, reluctantly, because no one wants to leave the false warmth of huddled bodies and worn hides. But the day doesn't care about comfort. The day demands movement, action, purpose, because in the Stone Age, there are no days off. There's no weekend. There's only today, and the constant question, will we have enough?
So, you push yourself up, ignore the protests of muscles, and prepare to do what humans have done for millennia. You prepare to survive. One more day, one more sunrise, one more quiet struggle against a world that owes you nothing. Welcome to the Stone Age, where every morning is a test, and simply waking up is your first small victory. The fire is dead, or nearly dead. A few stubborn embers glow faintly beneath a blanket of ash, like tiny orange eyes watching you, waiting to see if you remember what to do. You do, because you have to. Fire isn't optional in the Stone Age. It's survival in flickering, fragile form. It's the difference between warmth and hypothermia, between cooked food and food poisoning, between safety and becoming something else's midnight snack. Lose the fire and you lose everything. So you crouch beside the hearth, a shallow pit ringed with stones, and begin the process. Gently, carefully, you brush away the ash with your hands, revealing the embers beneath. They're faint, but they're there. Good. That means you won't have to start from scratch. Not today. You reach for kindling, dried grass, thin twigs, bark shavings you prepared yesterday, because preparation is the only insurance policy you have. You place them near the embers, close but not smothering. Fire is temperamental. It needs air, fuel, and patience. Rush it and it dies. Neglect it and it dies. Everything in the Stone Age is a balance. You lean in close, so close your face feels the faint warmth, and you blow, softly at first, then with more intention. The embers brighten, responding like a sleeping animal stirring awake. A thin tendril of smoke rises, then another. The kindling begins to blacken, curl, and finally, blessedly, ignite. Flame, small, fragile, but alive. You feed it carefully. More twigs, slightly thicker sticks. You can't rush this part. Fire is a relationship, not a transaction. It demands attention, respect, and constant care. But when it catches, when the flames grow strong and steady, you feel something close to relief. Now comes the larger wood, branches you've been drying for days, stacked near the shelter under cover so the rain wouldn't ruin them. You add them one by one, building a structure that allows airflow but keeps the heat concentrated. This is architecture at its most primal, a pyramid of survival. The flames crackle, pops, and settles into a steady burn. Light fills the shelter. Warmth begins to radiate outward, chasing away the chill that had wrapped itself around you like a second skin. Your family draws closer, instinctively, gratefully. The fire is the heart of the home, literally. But keeping it alive is a full-time job. Someone will need to tend it throughout the day, adding fuel, adjusting the structure, making sure it doesn't spread or die. In some groups, this task falls to the elders or the children. In others, it rotates, but it's never ignored, because a dead fire means starting over, and starting over means friction, sparks, and the very real possibility of failure. You've made fire from scratch before, rubbing sticks together in just the right way, using a bow drill, striking flint against pyrite to create sparks. It works, eventually, but it's exhausting, time-consuming, and not guaranteed. That's why most groups keep a fire burning continuously, sometimes for months, even years. Fire is too valuable to let go. As the flames grow stronger, you place stones around the edge, heating them. Later, these will be used for cooking, boiling water, or keeping warm through the night. Nothing is wasted. Everything serves a purpose.
The fire is alive now, and so, it seems, are you.
Your stomach growls, not the polite, I could eat kind of growl, the deep, hollow, insistent kind that reminds you that you haven't had a real meal in over a day. Welcome to Stone Age hunger. It's a constant companion, a shadow that never quite leaves. Breakfast as a concept doesn't really exist here. There's no cereal, no toast, no eggs. There's just food, whenever you can find it, catch it, or dig it up. And this morning, like most mornings, that means foraging. You grab a woven basket, if your group has developed that technology, or a large leaf folded into a makeshift pouch. Either way, you're heading out, alone or with others, depending on the day's plan and who's available. Foraging isn't a solo or group activity by tradition. It's whatever gets food in bellies. You step outside, and the world is quiet in that heavy, watchful way that early morning has. Dew clings to everything, making the ground slick and the plants glisten. The air smells like earth, smoke, and the faint musk of animals that passed through during the night. Your destination? Wherever memory and experience guide you. There's a patch of berry bushes a short walk east, a cluster of nut-bearing trees near the stream, roots that grow thick and starchy near the rocky outcrop. You've learned these places through trial, error, and sometimes painful consequences. Not every plant is friendly. Some will make you sick, others will kill you outright. But you know the safe ones, the reliable ones, the ones your mother showed you and her mother showed her. This knowledge isn't written down. It's passed on through touch, taste, and story. Forget it, and you starve. Remember it, and you survive. You find the berry bushes first. They're heavy with fruit, small, dark, and tart. You pick quickly but carefully, checking each one for mold, insects, or signs of rot. Nothing is guaranteed fresh. You taste one. It's sour, astringent, but edible. You fill your basket, eating a few as you go. Your body craves the sugar, the vitamins, the energy. Next, you dig. Near the base of an old tree, you know there are tubers, thick roots that can be roasted or boiled. You use a sharpened stick, a digging tool you've refined over months. The ground is hard, resistant, but you're persistent. After several minutes of effort, you unearth a cluster of pale, knobby roots. They're not pretty, but they're filling. You also gather greens, young leaves from certain plants, stems that aren't too bitter, anything that adds variety and nutrients. Scurvy isn't a word you know, but your body knows what it needs. Instinct and experience guide you toward balance. Nuts are a prize. You find a tree that dropped its load recently, and you gather what the squirrels haven't claimed. These are calorie-dense, portable, and can be stored. In a world without refrigeration, nuts are gold. Mushrooms, however, are a gamble. Some are delicious and nutritious, others are death in fungal form. You only pick the ones you're absolutely certain about. The margin for error is zero. As you forage, you're also watching, always watching, for predators, for other humans, for changes in the environment. Foraging is never just foraging. It's reconnaissance, survival, and awareness, all wrapped into one. By the time you return to the shelter, your basket is half full, not a feast, but enough. Combined with whatever the hunters bring back, if they bring anything back, it might be a good day. You set your haul near the fire and begin sorting. Some will be eaten now, some will be prepared and saved. Nothing is wasted. Even the scraps will be used for compost, bait, or fuel.
This is breakfast in the Stone Age. Not a meal, a mission. While you were foraging, others were hunting. Not for sport, not for trophies, for survival. Because plants alone won't cut it. The human body, especially in the Stone Age, craves fat, protein, and the nutrients only meat can provide. Without it, you weaken, your mind slows, your body starts cannibalizing itself. So the hunters left before dawn, moving quietly into the landscape with weapons in hand and hope in their hearts. Hunting isn't guaranteed, it's not even likely, but it's necessary. The weapons are crude by modern standards, but sophisticated for their time. Spears with fire-hardened tips, or, if your group has advanced, stone points carefully knapped from flint and lashed to wooden shafts with sinew or plant fibers. These aren't toys, they're precision tools, crafted over hours, sometimes days. A poorly made spear means a lost meal, or worse, injury. Others carry clubs, rocks, or snares made from twisted plant fiber. Different prey requires different tactics. A rabbit needs a snare. A deer needs patience and a clean throw. A boar, that needs courage, teamwork, and a willingness to get very close to something with tusks. The hunters move through the forest or across the plain, reading the land like a language. Tracks in the mud, broken branches, scat, scent. They're not just looking for animals, they're reading stories, where the animal went, when, how fast, whether it's alone or in a group. They find fresh deer tracks leading toward a watering hole. This is good, predictable. Deer need water, especially in the morning. The hunters spread out, positioning themselves downwind so their scent doesn't give them away. One hunter moves closer, spear ready, body low, breathing controlled. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Then movement. A deer steps cautiously into the clearing, ears swiveling, nose testing the air. It's alert, nervous, prey instincts in full gear. The hunter doesn't move, not yet. Timing is everything. The deer lowers its head to drink. The hunter throws. The spear flies, silent and fast, a blur of wood and stone. It strikes, not perfectly, but enough. The deer bolts, wounded, blood trailing. The hunters pursue, not sprinting, but pacing. They know the deer will tire, blood loss will slow. Patience wins. After a tense chase, they find it collapsed in a thicket. The kill is finished quickly, humanely by Stone Age standards. Respect is given. This animal died so they could live. That's not taken lightly. Now comes the work, field dressing, butchering. It's messy, bloody, and requires skill. Every part of the animal is used, meat for eating, bones for tools, sinew for binding, hide for clothing or shelter, organs for nutrition, antlers for hooks or pressure flakers. Even the hooves can be boiled down for glue. They carry what they can back to camp. It's heavy, awkward, but triumphant. A successful hunt means full bellies tonight. It means strength. It means survival. But not every hunt ends this way. Some days the hunters return empty-handed, exhausted and hungry. Some days the prey escapes. Some days the hunter becomes the hunted. That's the gamble. That's the Stone Age. You take what the world gives you and hope it's enough.
Back at camp, the hunter's return is met with relief and excitement. They didn't come back empty-handed. That alone is worth celebrating. The deer is laid near the fire, and immediately everyone gathers, not to stare, but to work. Butchering in the Stone Age is a group effort. It's also an education. Children watch closely, learning where to cut, how to separate muscle from bone, which organs are prized and which are avoided. Elders guide with experience, pointing out the best techniques, the safest cuts.
Everyone has a role. Using sharp stone flakes, knapped specifically for cutting, the hunters and others begin the process. The hide is carefully peeled back. It's valuable, too valuable to damage. Later, it will be scraped, stretched, and softened into something wearable or useful. The meat is sectioned. Larger cuts are set aside for roasting. Smaller pieces will be dried or smoked, preserved for later. Fat is scraped and saved. It's one of the most calorie-dense parts of the animal, essential for energy, especially in winter. Organs come next. The liver, rich in nutrients, is often eaten first, sometimes raw. The heart, kidneys, and stomach are all used. Nothing is wasted. Even the intestines are cleaned and repurposed, sometimes as containers or binding material. Bones are cracked open to access the marrow, a rich, fatty substance that's both delicious and nutritious. It's scooped out with tools or sucked directly from the bone. In a world without butter or cooking oil, marrow is a delicacy. While the butchering continues, the fire is prepared for cooking. Flat stones are placed directly in the flames, heating until they glow. Once hot, they'll be used to roast meat or boil water by dropping them into containers. Some meat is skewered on sticks and held over the fire, dripping fat that sizzles and smokes. The smell is intoxicating. Your mouth waters, your stomach clenches with anticipation. Other pieces are placed directly on the hot stones, searing with a hiss. The sound, the smell, the heat, it all blends into something primal and deeply satisfying. Cooking isn't just about taste, it's about safety. Raw meat can carry parasites, bacteria, and disease. Cooking kills those threats, making the food safer and easier to digest. It also breaks down tough fibers, making nutrients more accessible. But there's another reason humans cook. It brings people together. Around the fire, food becomes more than fuel. It becomes a ritual, a moment of pause, a shared experience. As the meat cooks, stories are told. Gestures, sounds, and eventually language. The hunt is recounted. Dangers are described. Successes are celebrated. Children listen, wide-eyed. Elders nod, remembering their own hunts. This is culture forming in real time. This is humanity learning to be more than just animals. Finally, the meat is ready. It's distributed, not equally by modern standards, but fairly by Stone Age logic. Hunters get first choice. They earned it. Then the elders, the children, the nursing mothers. Everyone eats, tearing into the food with hands and teeth. There are no plates, no utensils, just hunger and gratitude. The taste, smoky, rich, slightly charred, not seasoned, not refined, but deeply, fundamentally satisfying. This is what your body was designed to eat. This is fuel in its purest form. And for a brief moment, sitting by the fire with a belly slowly filling, life doesn't feel quite so hard. You've eaten. Your stomach, for the first time in what feels like days, isn't trying to fold in on itself. But the day is far from over. In the Stone Age, rest is brief. There's always something that needs doing. And today, that something is tool maintenance.
Your spear tip is chipped. Not badly, but enough to notice. Enough to matter. A dull or damaged weapon isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. It means missed kills, wasted energy, and potentially injury. So you sit near the fire with a small pile of flint nodules and get to work. Flint knapping, the art of shaping stone into tools, is one of humanity's oldest technologies. It's also one of the hardest. It requires patience, precision, and an intimate understanding of how stone fractures.
You select a piece of flint, turning it over in your hands, feeling its weight, studying its surface. Flint is glassy, sharp when broken, and relatively predictable, but it's also brittle. One wrong strike and hours of work are ruined. Using a hammerstone, a rounded rock that fits comfortably in your palm, you begin. You strike the flint at a precise angle, not too hard, not too soft. A flake breaks away, sharp and thin. You examine it. Too thick. You strike again and again. Slowly, methodically, you shape the stone. Each strike is intentional. Each flake removed changes the form. You're not just breaking rock, you're sculpting it, creating an edge, a point, a tool that will cut through hide, flesh, and bone. Your hands are scarred from this work. Small cuts, old and new, crisscross your palms and fingers. Flint doesn't forgive mistakes, but you've learned. You've adapted. Your hands move with practiced confidence. Children sit nearby, watching. One holds a piece of stone trying to mimic your movements. They strike too hard. The flint shatters. You don't scold. You guide. Show them the angle, the pressure, the patience. This is education in the Stone Age, not in classrooms, but in moments like this. Watching, mimicking, failing, learning. After a while, you've created a new spear point. It's not perfect, but it's sharp, functional, and carefully shaped. Now comes the next challenge, attaching it to the shaft. You take a wooden spear shaft, already prepared, and using a sharp stone tool, you carve a notch into one end. The point needs to fit snugly, securely. You test the fit, adjust, test again. Once satisfied, you bind it. Sinew, thin strips of dried tendon from previous hunts, is soaked until pliable. You wrap it tightly around the base of the point, securing it to the shaft. As it dries, it will shrink, tightening the bond. Some groups use plant resin or pine pitch as glue, heating it until it melts, then applying it to the joint. It hardens as it cools, creating a strong, waterproof seal. You do this now, carefully dripping the hot resin onto the binding, smoothing it with a stick. The result? A functional, deadly weapon. One you made with your own hands from raw materials pulled directly from the earth. You test it. Throw it lightly at a target, a bundle of grass staked into the ground. It flies true. The point holds. Good. Tool making isn't just practical, it's meditative. It's a connection to your ancestors who sat in caves and under trees doing this exact same thing. It's proof that humans aren't the strongest or fastest, but we're the smartest, and we know how to make the world bend to our will, one flake of stone at a time. While you were napping tools, others were working on something just as essential, clothing and shelter. Because in the Stone Age, exposure kills just as surely as starvation or predators. Your clothing, what little you have, is made from animal hides, deer, rabbit, boar, whatever was hunted and successfully processed. But turning a raw hide into something wearable, that's an art form. It starts with scraping. After the hide is removed from the animal, it's stretched and pegged to the ground or a wooden frame. Using a stone scraper, you remove every bit of fat, tissue, and membrane from the inner surface. It's tedious, repetitive, and your arms burn from the effort, but it has to be done. Any leftover tissue will rot, and the hide will stink and decay.
Once scraped, the hide needs to be softened. Some groups use a mixture of animal brains, yes, brains, rubbed into the hide. The oils and enzymes break down the fibers, making the leather pliable. It sounds disgusting. It is disgusting, but it works. Others use a method called smoking. The hide is hung over a smoky fire, letting the smoke penetrate the fibers. This not only softens the hide, but also makes it water resistant and preserves it. After days of work, you have a piece of soft, flexible leather. Now comes the tailoring. Using a bone awl, you punch holes along the edges of the hide. Then, with sinew thread, you stitch pieces together. There are no sewing machines, no needles in the modern sense, just patience and a steady hand. The result is a simple tunic or wrap. It's not fashionable. There are no buttons, no zippers, no pockets, but it covers your body, traps heat, and shields you from wind, rain, and sun. It's survival couture. Footwear is even more basic. If you're lucky, you have simple leather wraps tied around your feet with cordage. If not, your feet are bare, calloused beyond recognition, tough enough to walk over sharp rocks and hot sand without flinching. Now, shelter. Your home isn't permanent. In the Stone Age, most groups are semi-nomadic, following animal migrations, seasonal plants, and water sources. That means your shelter needs to be portable, or at least easy to rebuild. The most common structure is a simple lean-to. Long branches are propped against a rock face or between two trees, then covered with smaller branches, leaves, grasses, and hides. It's not waterproof, not windproof, but it's better than nothing. Some groups dig shallow pits and build structures over them, partially underground. The earth provides insulation, keeping the interior warmer in winter and cooler in summer. If your group has access to large animal bones, mammoth ribs, for example, they can be used as structural supports. Hides are draped over them, creating a dome-shaped dwelling. These are sturdier, more weather-resistant, and can house multiple families. Inside, the floor is covered with dried grasses, moss, or soft hides. The fire pit is central, ringed with stones to contain the heat and prevent the fire from spreading. There's no furniture, no chairs, no tables, no beds. You sit on the ground, you sleep on the ground, you live on the ground. But it's yours, and in a world that offers so little, that sense of place, of belonging, of shelter, it's everything. As you finish repairing a torn section of the shelter's hide covering, you feel something like pride, not in luxury, but in function. This will keep you dry tonight. This will keep you alive.
The afternoon stretches on, and with it, the steady rhythm of work. But between the tasks, between the survival and the effort, there are moments, brief, fleeting, but deeply human moments. Moments where life isn't just endured, it's lived. Children play near the camp, their laughter cutting through the quiet hum of daily routine. They chase each other, wrestle, throw sticks, and pretend to hunt. It's not aimless fun, it's training. They're learning balance, coordination, strategy, and cooperation. But they don't know that. They just know it feels good to move, to shout, to be young. You watch them for a moment, smiling slightly. They remind you that survival isn't just about not dying, it's about the next generation, about passing something forward. Knowledge, yes, but also hope. Nearby, two adults sit together, working on a basket. Their hands move in rhythm, weaving reeds and plant fibers into a tight, functional container. They don't speak much. They don't need to. The work itself is a conversation, a shared task, a quiet bond. An elder sits by the fire, humming softly. The sound is low, almost a vibration. It's not a song, not in the modern sense, but it's musical. intentional, a pattern of sound that's been passed down generation to generation. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's just a way to fill the silence. You approach and sit beside them. They nod in acknowledgement. You don't ask what the hum means, you just listen. And in listening, you feel connected to them, to the past, to something larger than your individual struggle. This is culture in its infancy. This is how stories begin, how meaning is created, how humans become more than just clever animals. Later, as the sun begins its slow descent, someone pulls out a piece of charcoal from the fire. Using it, they draw on a flat stone simple lines, curves, shapes that might be animals, might be people, might be nothing at all, but they're deliberate, intentional, artistic. Others gather to watch, to comment with gestures and sounds, to add their own marks. This isn't writing, not yet, but it's the seed of it, the impulse to leave a mark, to say, I was here, I saw this, I fought this. You pick up a piece of ochre, a reddish clay, and add your own marks to the stone. A handprint, pressed firmly, then lifted. It's simple, it's ancient, it's powerful. This is how humans have always dealt with the weight of existence. We create, we connect, we make meaning from chaos. As evening approaches, someone starts tapping a rhythm on a hollow log. Boom, boom, boom. It's steady, hypnotic, primal. Others join in, clapping, stomping, humming. It's not organized. There's no conductor, no rehearsal, but it's music. Bodies begin to move, not dancing in the modern sense, but swaying, stepping, moving in time with the beat. It's joyful, it's expressive, it's human. This is the Stone Age at its most beautiful, not in grand monuments or written texts, but in these small, shared moments, in laughter, in rhythm, in connection.
Because yes, life is hard. Yes, every day is a fight. But humans have never been content with just surviving. We've always demanded more. Beauty, joy, meaning. And here, in the Stone Age, with nothing but fire and stone and each other, you're creating it. As the day begins to fade, the group's attention shifts once again, this time outward. Because in the Stone Age, the world beyond your camp isn't empty, it's full of life, danger, and unpredictability. The land you live on isn't owned. There are no fences, no borders, no deeds. But there are territories, not yours in a legal sense, but familiar, known. This is where you forage, where you hunt, where you feel relatively safe. But others live here too, other human groups, other bands, and your relationship with them is complicated. Sometimes you encounter them while foraging or hunting. Sometimes it's peaceful, a nod of recognition, a shared watering hole, an unspoken agreement to keep distance and respect space. Other times it's tense. Resources are limited, competition is real. A good hunting ground, a reliable water source, a safe cave. These things are worth defending, worth fighting for. You've seen conflict, not war in the modern sense, but skirmishes, shouting, posturing, thrown rocks, occasionally violence. People have been hurt, people have died, over territory, over food, over perceived slights or broken agreements. But you've also seen cooperation, trade in its most primitive form. Your group has flint, another group has obsidian, sharper, more valuable. You trade, a few nodules for a few blades. Both groups benefit. You've shared knowledge, too. A neighboring group taught you a new way to trap fish. You taught them how to process acorns, removing the bitter tannins to make them edible. This exchange doesn't have a name, but it's the foundation of civilization. And then there are alliances, bonds formed not through written contracts, but through kinship, friendship, or mutual survival. Your group's young hunter wants to pair with someone from another band. Families meet, gestures are made, agreements are reached, and a bond is formed that links two groups together. These connections matter. In a world where every day is a gamble, having allies can mean the difference between thriving and extinction. But alliances are fragile. Misunderstandings happen. Resources dwindle. Trust breaks. And when it does, relationships sour fast. You've heard stories, passed down by elders, of groups that fractured. Some left, never to be seen again. Others were driven out, forcibly. A few were wiped out entirely. The Stone Age is not a peaceful utopia. It's a constant negotiation between cooperation and conflict. As you sit by the fire tonight, you think about the group you encountered last week. They were friendly, curious. They admired your tools. You admired their baskets. You parted on good terms.
But you also remember the group from the northern valley, the ones who chased you away from a berry patch, the ones whose eyes were hard and whose gestures were sharp. You haven't seen them in weeks, and you're not eager to see them again. Humans are social creatures. Even here, even now, we need each other. But we also fear each other. And managing that balance, that tension, is part of what it means to be human. Tonight, your group is safe, fed, warm, together. Tomorrow, who knows? But for now, you rest, and you remember that survival isn't just about fighting the world. It's about navigating the people in it. The sun is low now, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson. The temperature drops quickly once the light fades. The warmth of the day evaporates, and the cold creeps back in, familiar and unwelcome. The fire is built up again, more wood, larger logs that will burn longer, slower through the night. This fire isn't just for warmth anymore, it's for protection. Because nighttime in the Stone Age is a different world. It's when you're most vulnerable, when predators hunt, when the darkness hides threats you can't see, only hear. You're not the apex predator here, not yet, not by a long shot. Wolves prowl in packs, coordinated and relentless. Hyenas scavenge, but they'll also attack if the opportunity presents itself. Big cats, lions, leopards, saber-toothed cats, depending on where you are, stalk the edges of human settlements, watching, waiting, calculating. And then there are bears, massive, powerful, and unpredictable. A bear doesn't need a reason to charge, it just needs to feel threatened or hungry. The fire is your shield. Most animals, not all, but most, fear fire, the light,
The heat, the crackling sound. It confuses them, repels them, keeps them at a distance. But fire alone isn't always enough. So you've built defenses, thorn bushes piled around the camp's perimeter, sharpened stakes angled outward, rocks positioned to be thrown quickly. It's not a fortress, but it's something. You take first watch tonight. Others will rotate through the night, ensuring someone is always awake, always alert. Sleep in the Stone Age is light, interrupted. You never fully relax. You sit near the fire, spear across your lap, listening. The night is full of sound. Insects chirp and buzz. Frogs croak near the water. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hoots. These are normal sounds, safe sounds. But then you hear something else, a rustling, too large to be a rabbit, too deliberate to be the wind.
You freeze. Your hand tightens around the spear. Your eyes scan the darkness beyond the fire's glow, but you see nothing, only shadows, shifting, formless. The rustling stops. Silence, heavy, tense silence. You wait, barely breathing, listening with every fiber of your being. Then movement, a flash of eyes reflecting the firelight, low to the ground, watching. A wolf, or maybe a hyena, you can't tell, but it's there, and it's not alone. You hear soft footsteps, circling, testing, probing for weakness. You stand slowly, making yourself larger. You grab a burning branch from the fire and wave it toward the sound, shouting, not words but noise, loud, aggressive, territorial. The eyes disappear, the footsteps retreat, for now. You return to your seat, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through your veins. You don't relax, you can't.
Because they might come back. They usually do. This is the reality of Stone Age nights. You're never truly safe. You're always on guard. The darkness isn't peaceful. It's a test. And every morning you wake up is proof you passed it one more time. Eventually, your watch ends. Another takes your place, and you curl up near the fire, pulling a hide over your body. Sleep comes slowly, fitfully. You dream of running, of hunting, of fire and shadows. And when you wake, it's still dark, but dawn is close. You can feel it. The air shifts, the sounds change. The birds begin their pre-dawn songs. Another night survived, another day approaching. Dawn breaks slowly, almost reluctantly, as if the world itself is tired. But you're awake. You've been awake, because in the Stone Age, sleep is a luxury, not a guarantee. You sit up, joints stiff, body aching. The fire has burned low again, reduced to coals and ash. You add kindling, coax it back to life, and breathe in the thin, smoky air. Around you, others begin to stir, stretching, coughing, groaning softly. This is the morning routine. No alarm clocks, no snooze buttons, just the slow, painful return to consciousness and the realization that the day's work is about to begin again.
But today feels different. Not easier, just familiar. You've done this before. yesterday, the day before, every day of your life, and you'll do it again tomorrow, if you're lucky.
The foragers will head out again. The hunters will prepare. The tool makers will sit by the fire with their stones. The children will play and learn. The elders will watch and remember. It's a cycle. Repetitive, yes. Exhausting, absolutely. But also strangely comforting. Because in a world where so much is uncertain, routine is a kind of anchor. You stand and stretch, looking out at the landscape bathed in soft morning light. The trees, the hills, the sky. It's beautiful in a harsh, indifferent way. It doesn't care if you live or die. It just exists, and so do you. You think about the day ahead. There's meat to preserve, hides to finish, tools to sharpen. Always something, always work. But there will also be moments, small ones, a shared laugh, a child's smile, the taste of fresh berries, the warmth of the fire. These are the things that make it worth it, not the grand moments, the quiet ones. You glance back at your family, still waking, still here, still alive. And for now, that's enough.